Well, then we're just trying to contact the board member to see if she's connecting to us. So welcome to the August 9th, 2021 Town of Ithaca Town Board meeting. We'll start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So we're going to start with an update from Cornell University. Classes, I think students will start showing up fairly soon. So this is a good time to check in. I know there's a few folks from Cornell. Joel, are we starting with you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's great to be back with all of you. There's a lot that's been happening over the last few weeks. A lot of the same considerations that all of you are no doubt considering are impacting our plans as well. I thought that I would just do a brief overview of some of the major shifts in some of our guidance for our students, faculty, and staff that at least as of today will be shaping the start of our fall semester. We'll then hopefully have some time for your questions. I'm joined today by Gary Stewart from our great Office of Community Relations, Diane Miller from our Office of Federal Relations, and Karen Brown from the Division of Student and Campus Life. Charlie Krasansky from Albany was not able to join us. He is finishing up a well-deserved vacation. So I'll talk about three main areas, and you may have seen some media coverage, or those of you with Cornell affiliations perhaps have received some emails with these details. And Gary, I think, will be able to post links to the main communications that have gone out from our leadership that will go into greater detail. The most important shift is when the Tompkins County Health Department issued their revised guidance around indoor mask wearing. We immediately embraced it as well. So all faculty, staff, students, and visitors, regardless of their vaccination status, need to remain masked unless they're in a private, non-shared space, such as an office, as I am right now, or in the case of students, a dorm room, or when eating. And unvaccinated individuals will continue to have to wear a mask outdoors when physical distancing is not possible. So a shift in our indoor mask mandate that will impact everyone. In terms of vaccinations, we are heartened by the strong level of compliance with the student vaccination mandate, as well as with the vaccination rates among faculty and staff. Currently, if you look at the entirety of our on-campus population, we are at 94% that are fully vaccinated. Our expectation is that when classes begin, our campuses and our classrooms will overwhelmingly consist of vaccinated individuals, which will greatly reduce the risk of infection for all. Therefore, according to our current modeling, all of our fall 2021 classes will be in person without remote options. This is to encourage, in line with public health, as normal a semester experience for our students, faculty, and staff as possible. The last set of updates regards our surveillance testing. I'll start with unvaccinated, or in the case of students who arrive on campus partially vaccinated. They are required to participate in regular surveillance testing until they are fully vaccinated, or if a student has an approved exemption, medical or religious, to our vaccination mandate, they'll have to continue a regular schedule of surveillance testing throughout the semester. In addition, and this is a shift, some of our vaccinated student populations, all of our undergraduates and all of our professional students at the Cornell Law School, at the College of Veterinary Medicine, at the Johnson School of Management, and at Architecture, Art, and Planning, they will initially be required to participate in surveillance testing at the start of semester. We plan to discontinue this step for vaccinated individuals as soon as we have a sense of what the prevalence of the virus is on campus. If we are able to determine through that surveillance testing that the prevalence is sufficiently low, then for those vaccinated individuals, they would no longer need to be surveillance test. There will continue to be an option of supplemental testing for any employee or any individual who would like to be tested throughout the semester. And the final shift around surveillance testing is with regard to employees. Now, all faculty and staff either have to be fully vaccinated with an FDA or WHO authorized vaccine and submit proof of vaccination through our daily check, or they have to participate in surveillance testing twice a week, in addition to complying with mask wearing requirements, which I covered earlier. In addition, some of our fully vaccinated faculty and staff on our Ithaca campus, as well as in Geneva, whose positions require interactions with many other members of the community, they will participate in weekly surveillance testing at the start of the semester. We are currently determining which of those positions will be placed into that mandatory weekly testing. We expect that will be announced within the next few weeks so that it can begin with the start of the arrival of our students. So let me stop there. I will end by reminding everyone that this is all very fluid. Our modeling continues, and we will continue to make additional adjustments as needed, pending additional guidance from the state, from the county health department, so that we can ensure not just the campus community, but the greater Tompkins County community remains as protected as possible. So with that, I'm happy to take questions.
And Joe, I apologize if you said this. I'm still sort of paying attention to a number of things. In the past, I know you phased when people were coming to Ithaca. Is that happening again? And when do classes actually start?
Sure. I'm going to turn to Karen Brown to provide those specifics. Karen?
Sure. We actually start moving folks in this weekend. As early as this weekend, our residential hall staff will be moving in, and then we start a phased move-in process beginning the 19th of August through the 25th. Classes start on the 26th. So we'll be moving in several hundred each day to try to keep them as separated as possible.
So questions? Oops.
Are there any policies related to social activities, Greek life, etc.?
The policies that will govern those are the masking and for unvaccinated students, the social distancing requirements. We are contemplating a process that will establish some tents across campus that might encourage what might otherwise have been indoor events to occur outdoors. And more information will come over the coming days and weeks on that. But our plan and the reason that we're going to the lengths that I described, it's to ensure that we have as much of these social interactions as possible under the banner of public health safety. So we want to try to be a bit more embracing of the college experience without putting any of us or our neighbors at risk.
Other questions? Dan, Pat, Jen? Okay, I think we're good. We appreciate the update. We know you have a year's experience behind you, and perhaps we didn't think we'd have to deal with some of the same issues this fall, but here we are.
Well, thank you, Rod, and thanks to the entire board for your leadership. And we are here. Please just let Gary know if you'd like to schedule another visit. And thanks for all the ongoing, unrelated to COVID work that I know the town and Cornell continues to engage on.
Before, since Diane is on, does anyone have a Washington, D.C. related question that Diane in her role with Cornell might be able to answer questions? Was an infrastructure bill passed today? I've been out of the loop.
I think the final vote on it, the final passage is going to be tomorrow. And then of course it's got to go back to the House, and the chairman of the House Transportation Committee has said he wants really nothing to do with this particular infrastructure bill. We'll see if that's really the case when he gets it in front of him, but I think there's still a ways to go. The rest of the week though is going to be taken up by this budget resolution that sets the framework for the budget reconciliation. So that's all of the stuff that didn't get passed in the rescue plan earlier this year. So child care, child tax credits, housing, human services type stuff, education. So there's a lot in there that we will be watching closely. And I think one of the things for you guys to keep your eyes on in this infrastructure and then beyond is anything that has to do with rescinding funds that were appropriated through the rescue plan but haven't been drawn down yet. And I know there's been talk about giving municipalities authority to spend your Rescue Act plan funds on infrastructure if that's the best way to use that funding that came in earlier this year. And so I think there's still a lot that's evolving in there, and we'll have to wait and see how serious Delta and any other variants are, whether there's any more COVID rescue money, but I think they've moved on pretty firmly to the recovery at this point.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, thanks, Cornell folks. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see everybody.
Now moving on to persons to be heard. There is only one public hearing that will come right after this. That has to do with acquisition of real property associated with Forest Home Walkway. So if you're here to talk about that, there will be a special time, but if you have other items that you want to bring to the board, now's your time. So, so I know you were here before. Pick up a microphone if you want to wipe it off, just to be safe. That would be great. And I will limit you to 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Mia Slotnick from Renwick Heights Road. I just have a couple comments about short-term rentals. I know you're not discussing them at this board meeting, but we just wanted an opportunity to address the whole board. So the short-term rental committee has heard parts of this already. So the first point is about that we've had, instances where neighbors lie to us about their short-term rentals, and they lie to the code enforcement department. It's sometimes, difficult to get code enforcement officers to come out and investigate these things because they seem to be understaffed. I sympathize with them because I know that this is a lot of manpower, a lot of work that they're being asked to do. Often we've been asked in the past to take pictures or video things, which of course leads to conflict between neighbors, police get involved. It's not a good situation. So the burden of policing short-term rentals seems to fall on neighbors, and it looks from the the rules that are being proposed that this is going to continue. We were thinking that one way of remedying this is by increasing the staff in the code enforcement department. Their workload is undoubtedly going to increase once all the short-term rental hosts have to declare that they are actually running these businesses. So we think that the penalties for hosts should be not only, revocation of their permits, but also they should have monetary penalties. I understand now that this amount is limited by the state, but I know that Cayuga Heights somehow, I looked in their law and their fees go up to $750 for any kind of violation. And this would also help to dissuade transgressions. It could help in more ways than one. The second way, I think that we could increase the staffing in the code enforcement department is by making the operating permit, that there should be a hefty fee for this. And this does sound like hopefully this is going to happen because these hosts can make tens of thousands. I looked it up before I came here. It said an average
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. It's 24,000 per year. And the third thing is that I do think pressure should be put on the county to share the $2.5 million that they are bringing in, most of it from Airbnb. There's an interview from WRFI with Nick Helmholt, and he says that, this quarter has surpassed what they were expecting and from the room tax. And I know it goes to the arts and to increase tourism, but surely this is money that's, just coming out of nowhere. They didn't have this 4 years ago. Surely some of that can go to help offset the cost of enforcement and regulation of short-term rentals.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like to address this as well? I don't have my glasses on, so I think I recognize you, but.
Kenny Simpson. At the June 14th, 2021 STR meeting, Rich DeBolo stated, "Who on the town board operates STRs? The public has a right to know. This should be asked in public session." To put this in context, at the regional and national level, elected officials must reveal when they have vested interest in decision-making process and bill and recuse themselves if needed. Professionals and employees in all walks of life are frequently compelled to disclose all sources of revenue outside of their employment in relationship with individuals and companies These are then reviewed for conflicts of interest. We consulted with the Tompkins County legislators, and they confirmed this viewpoint and indicated that anyone for their immediate family who is involved in conducting STRs or has a relationship with a business involved in STRs and could benefit now or in the future from the legislation that is being crafted to govern STRs has a duty to disclose this conflict of interest and recuse themselves from being involved in constructing these laws or voting on them. Other local municipalities, such as Cuba Heights, have also subscribed to this policy, barring individuals with conflict from the legislative process. On this basis, we are requesting that members of the Town Board and STR Planning Committee who are involved directly or through family in conducting STRs or have a relationship with a business involved in STRs could benefit now or in the future from this legislation that's being crafted to govern STRs, ensure they disclose this conflict of interest and recuse themselves from participating further in crafting or approving this legislation. Thank you.
And are there members of the public via Zoom who would like to address the board on a topic? If so, if you could raise your hand. So I am not seeing anyone who wants to address the board, so I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is open the public hearing. This is related to proposed acquisition of real property, accepting easements on 2 properties adjacent to the Forest Home Walkway to allow for the reconstruction and maintenance of the current alignment of the walkway. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board on this topic? Bruce.
Yes, thank you.
And Bruce, I'll give you got 3 minutes, okay?
Got it. I don't think it'll take that long. I support this. But the description of the easements on page 2 of 2, part 3 of the short environmental assessment form mentions that there are 2 easements needed, one for the top, one for the bottom. There's a 3rd easement in the middle. Now, I haven't seen the actual wording of the easement. I hope that's included. So I just hope the paperwork is all in order. But I support the project overall.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll circle back around to that when we open it up for board to talk, whether there
Okay.
really is a 3rd easement.
Good. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to address? Carolyn. Caroline, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm one of the property owners involved in the easements for which there were no details. And I had a couple of thoughts about the seeker, and I sent them this afternoon, but hoping that if I sent them to town clerk at the town, they would get through, but I haven't heard. Let me just, my computer timed out. So it was question 2. This is in the part 1 of the environmental assessment form. Question 2 is, does the proposed action require a permit approval or funding from any other government agency? And no is checked, but an agency is listed where it says, if yes, list agency name. And that's with the Tompkins County Highway right-of-way permit. And I just wanted to check about that, since the wordings of the easements aren't there. I'm assuming the board members have seen the actual easements. But on our property, we have an encroachment agreement with Tompkins County relating to the right-of-way permit. So I just want to make sure that that will be agreed, to by Tompkins County. And the other one is question 17, which is about stormwater discharge, where I also wonder whether the answer to the question should be yes or not. The new stormwater drainage system for the lower part of the walkway will be adjacent to the path and flow into the existing catch basin that's near the foot of the walkway. Stormwater from behind our property, which currently is led straight into that catch basin, will be redirected to connect to the stormwater system that's adjacent to the new walkway. And since I'm aware that in the planning board meetings, details of seekers are looked at very carefully. I just wanted to know whether that should have been yes, rather than no. In relation, it would be question B would be the yes.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else? Time's up, but did you have something else?
No, I can't wait for things to start happening on it.
Thank you, Caroline. Is there, and we'll certainly talk about that when we get to the seeker resolution. So anyone else who would like to address the board on this? Okay, I will close the public hearing at 5:58 and bring the seeker to the attention of the board. So let's start by moving, would someone like to move the seeker? Rich moves. Is there a second? Second by Pam. So discussion about the things that Caroline just brought to our attention. I don't know whether that's a Dan question or a Sue Ritter question.
I can go ahead.
Okay.
A few comments. My computer currently has a spinning wheel of death, so I can't pull the plan in front of me. So I'm going off the seat of my pants here. As far as easements are concerned, we have one easement from Cornell and we have one easement from Carolyn Arms, or the Armses. The Cornell easement, I know what the Britons are talking about. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a contiguous easement. So it's one easement. It's all contiguous from top to bottom. In negotiating with Cornell, they wanted us to take over some more of the drainage swale, or the creek as some people call it. So we had to extend the width of our easement so it's contiguous. So there are two easements. As for drainage, we're not creating any new point discharges. The runoff, there is some runoff that was coming off of Warren Road. That runoff is going to be manipulated slightly. It's a very small amount, but it's going to be kept in Warren Road a little bit more than it is right now. There is an under drain that's going in that, to the layman looking at the plan, there's an under drain at the chicane in the trail. That under drain almost looks like a point discharge, but it's an under drain. It's not collecting surface water. And the discharge point, it discharges to a stone berm that's intended to help put that water back into the ground. So going back to the secret document here, let's get there. So 17 is interesting. Seeker's always interesting here. I'm reading 17 again. Will stormwater discharge flow to adjacent properties? We can answer yes. It currently flows to adjacent properties, so we're not changing anything necessarily. So the answer there could be yes. B, will stormwater discharge be directed to established conveyance systems? Yes. As the Armses were mentioning, there is some offsite drainage that that is currently being conveyed to the storm inlet along Forest Home Drive, and in the proposed condition, it'll be exactly the same. So for both of those, A and B, part 17, they could both be answered yes.
So Rich and Pam, would you be fine if we?
And then that requires subsequent explanation.
Yeah, I mean, a simple explanation here is that the existing drainage patterns will be maintained.
I mean, just for purposes of what we're going to be voting on, does that need to be spelled out? The record, is it sufficient that it exists in verbal form? Do we actually have to have something definitive on which to vote? I'm satisfied with your explanation. I just don't know that if it needs to be more than just.
I would keep it simple. I mean, what we could simply add here is that the stormwater discharges will be directed to established conveyance systems. Existing drainage patterns will be maintained. It's kind of a.
That's great. I'm fine with that.
And Pam, you're okay. And Becky, you caught, we'll get that off from the recording, right, Becky? That you can. Now, there was another issue on the secret that Caroline brought up, right?
I really see.
This was
Oh,
question
yes,
one,
yes, yes.
two rather.
So we did negotiate with the arms. Arms is, we're well aware of the encroachment agreement that they have with the county for their fence that's out in front of their property. When we wrote the easement, we took their encroachment agreement. We had our attorneys add some language into our agreement, so we're all covered. We already have our permit from the Tompkins County Highway, so all is good at this point.
So
I understand.
it's fine that it still says no because it's.
Let me just go over here. Let me just go to that.
Susan, are you trying to jump in?
Yeah, just change number 2 to yes.
Okay. And Rich and Pam, you're fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. That makes it simple. Any other discussion about the secret resolution? So I have to, so all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Anyone abstain? I think it was unanimous. Okay. So then moving on to the actual approval of the language for the easements. And of course, we've already said that it's with Cornell for one easement and with William and Caroline Arms for the other easement. This also includes language. This is a permissive referendum. So we'll have to take a roll call and wait the certain number of days before we can move forward on this. And this is, it gives me approval with oversight, and Susan Brock will take a look at the language before we can sign off. Any questions, discussion about Bill moves? Is there a second? Pam seconds. Are we ready to vote?
Just had a brief question. The length, the easement is a permanent easement, and all the considerations have been articulated in this resolution. Because obviously we're not seeing the easement. Right? It's going to be clear that there's no financial consideration and it's a permanent easement. Right? Okay, thanks.
And are they're permanent easements now? Because we did not submit it.
Yes, they're permanent easements. There's no temporary.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Moving on to the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Somebody has their hand up.
I'm sorry, what?
Michael has his hand up.
Yeah, but we're done with the public comments and public hearings, so I'm just moving on. By the way, if those of you who aren't, since we're not going to be having the public speak anymore, if anyone wants to move and watch us on YouTube, you can certainly do that, and it reduces the number of squares that we have to pay attention to. So the next item is discuss capital improvement project and the fleet replacement schedule. This has been reviewed by the Public Works Committee. So I think most board members have seen this by now, but this is a chance to ask questions, any clarification that you might want for either the capital improvement project sheet or the fleet replacement. Any questions? Yes.
I'm embarrassed to ask because I'm on Public Works, but what does red type mean? What is the red on the spreadsheet? What does red indicate?
Yeah, the red,
It's been removed or it's been added?
it's been added since it went before the budget committee. Yeah, we had a few updates, and just once all the dust had settled with our large projects, Joe Slater, myself, and other staff, we all sat down and started to digress. What are we missing? What are the small things? And obviously, the Public Works facility needs a little bit of help. So that's the major adds that we have.
Yeah, I think there was some, I think Donna also felt if it indeed was a capital project, better to put it on here so that's all in one place, rather than some
Yeah.
people kind of knowing it's out there, but it's not showing up on this list.
You're exactly right. Some of these in the past will be put in a narrative in the budget, and we opted to just put them on this because it is technically considered a capital project. So that's why we added it last minute.
So Joe, is there anything you want to add? Oh, Bill?
No, I think Dan explained it well. It was just some stuff that was usually or typically put in the narratives, and we added it to the sheet. I think some of the holdup too was we were waiting for some estimates to come back so we can get some accurate numbers put in there, conservative numbers.
Oh, did I see him?
Having a hard time hearing you, Bill, or at least I am.
Is your microphone?
Helps to turn it on, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah, so we may end up, talking to whoever gets the contract for actually doing the Forest Home Walkway and seeing if they'll do the crosswalk for us. But that's why that 30,000 has been put in there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a conservative number. Obviously, we had to go out and bid, but we're, like you said, Bill, you hit it right on the head. Hopefully we'll be able to work with the contractor, get it in.
Any other questions?
I have a question about the fleet replacement. I didn't see a 10-wheeler on there, Joe. Is everything okay down there?
Well,
Sure there are enough.
due to COVID, we can't get our 10-wheelers that we were supposed to get this year until next year. So we're just going to push it out another year. I apologize for the delay, Rich.
I know. Thanks.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on. There was no vote on that. We just wanted everyone a chance to ask any questions they might have had about that. So moving on, this is actually very exciting with our new neighborhood code and traditional neighborhood development. There's some proposed development on South Hill, but we need to have a charrette related to that. So the resolution is to authorize us to enter a contract with B&A Planning Group for professional services associated with the charrette in developing a regulating plan for Danby King Road's area of South Hill. We did send out an RFP. The planning committee reviewed and interviewed, I think two different firms, but there was a third firm in the mix as well. This has all led to us thinking that B&A Planning Group would be the best one to work with. And this would be an amount not to exceed $65,000, and approval being subject to approval from the attorney for the town as well. So let's see if somebody wants to move the resolution.
Happy to move that resolution.
Is there a second? Second by Pam. So questions, comments?
Just just briefly, this $65,000 is coming out of the budget line that already exists. This is not an additional requisition. Is that correct?
Sue, do you want to speak to that? But yes, the short answer is yes. Sue, we can't hear you for some reason. We're not good at reading lips.
You just put your thumb up.
The answer is yes. So.
Okay, thank you.
There is money in the budget to cover this. We hope it will be, I think we're zeroing in on early October. Is that correct, Sue? Early October, okay. Any other questions that maybe I can answer since we can't get Sue to? Okay, all those, Tian, I'm sorry.
I just wondered if you could briefly if you could briefly tell us why you selected this firm, what qualifications you think they bring to the project.
Sure. Do you want to?
I mean, I think Sue, given that you, Sue Ritter, I think because you went back and forth with staff on this as well and did some additional vetting, I think I will punt this to you. Perhaps Sue Ritter, now that you've disappeared conveniently from view.
It looks like Marty and John have gone over to try and help.
Okay,
Sue
so
out.
I
I can start. They have extensive experience, the firm that we've chosen. We really wanted to make sure this first one went well, since hopefully down the road, there would be 2 other regulating plans for the other 2 NNCs. So we thought we really wanted to choose a firm that would really kick this out of, just do right by us. Sue?
I can ask at a later date.
Hi,
So
I'm in Marty's office now. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So Tian was just asking why we chose this one above the others.
Well, so I'm really excited about this group. So this is Jeff Dyer is with B&A Planning, but he has assembled a team of people that he's worked with in other places. So we're not really working with B&A Planning. We're working with Jeff Dyer, who works for B&A, and then with Nathan Norris, who is down in the Kentucky area. And I don't have my notes in front of me, but they have just a ton of experience, and they just, I am so impressed with them. I think they're just going to be great. They were recommended by Rod Studeville, and I'm very excited about working with them.
Thank you.
Any other, and that's teamwork. You can go to Marty's office. And, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
It's unanimous. So stay tuned as we start choosing a date, because we hope that several members of the board will be participating. Moving on to the next agenda item. This is setting a public hearing regarding a proposed local law to amend chapters 270 and 271 of the Town of Ithaca Code to provide a planned development zone for the Chain Works District. So we're proposing September 13th for the public hearing. So would first someone like to move the resolution?
I'll
I'll
move
move
it.
that. I'll second it.
Tien, and then seconded by Rich. And you've heard us talk, I think at the maybe 2 meetings ago, there was a public hearing related to the ROD, and I can never remember what's our
Record of
ROD stand?
decision.
Thank you. So would someone like the planning committee or Sue, do you want to just say something about this to put a little bit of context about the public hearing?
Yeah, so, well, you know, we've been working on this for a while. We have the plan development zone pretty much ready to go and the finding statement ready to go, but we've been waiting for the record of decision from the DEC. And it's my understanding, you know, the public hearing on the final draft of the ROD took place in July, and the meeting that I went to was only attended by, I don't know, less than probably 18 people or so. It didn't seem like a lot of people were there to give comments, but we're still waiting for the DEC to finalize it. I did ask the attorney with Chainworks for, you know, if they have any information on how much longer it's going to take. And I'm still waiting from that from the DEC, but you know, hopefully that'll come out soon and come out before the September meeting for the town board when our public hearing would be scheduled for the PDZ. But at the September meeting, we will have to do like it's just been so long, it's been a long time. So what needs to happen is the town board needs to adopt the finding statements or accept the finding statement, I guess it is. They need to do that first. That finding statements is associated with the Chainworks generic environmental impact statement. So we need to finalize the secret process. And then after we do that, then the town can consider adopting the plan development zone. But the desire was to hold off until the record of decision was finalized, and some of the finding statement in particular refers to the record of decision, and we want to make sure that the things in the finding statement are accurate.
Thank you for that. Rich, anything you want to do? Anything else about this? All those in favor of setting the public hearing for September 13th, raise your hand or say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Next is a resolution approving the 2022 office and field classification wage scales. This includes a 2.5% cost of living adjustments, and attached to the resolution was the actual wage scale showing you what the salaries would go up to. Would someone like to move this resolution? Pam moves. Is there a second? Second by Pat. Any questions, comments? Judy, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Next is the consent agenda. Would someone like to move approving the consent agenda?
I'll move that.
Is there a second? Seconded by Pam. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Just a couple of updates. By the way, I always want to, so Marty you got the code enforcement report in the mix of things. So hopefully folks take time to look at the code enforcement report. Just a couple of things. We received a letter that I believe went out to see if the town would sign off on having the city act as the lead agency for the Ithaca Farmers Market seeker environmental assessment. They're planning on doing a pretty new major building there. I believe this is on the agenda for who's meeting on Wednesday?
SJC.
On Wednesday. So I don't know if we want to wait till then. Is there any reason, does anyone see any issues with us signing off on having the city be the lead agency?
I have a personal hesitancy to relinquish police power to the city having anything to do with property neighboring the sewer plant. But I mean, I'll go along with it, but I think just historically, the city has had very parochial interests and will do what the city wants to do. So I sort of felt that the phenomenon before, and I suspect that whatever they're proposing down there isn't going to impinge upon our operation at the plant. But I guess it's just a lingering bad taste from previous situations down there. But yeah, by all means, we're an involved agency, I imagine, so have the opportunity to participate if needed, or as needed. Thank you.
We're involved because of the Ithaca area as well.
We co-own this treatment plant, so we're neighboring owner.
So any other remarks? I mean, I can hold off until Wednesday, but if there's no surprise that is SJC, I can go ahead and sign.
Yeah.
Susan, are you okay with that? Okay. You also got a letter about our dues related to the Cuba Lake watershed IO. I wasn't planning on, I just wanted to mention that today. We are going to have a presentation at the study session, and we can see if the town board is comfortable then with our new due structure. So note that, but we will have a presentation about the Cuba Lake watershed IO at the study session. And then just wanted to note that you also received an update about the broadband study that Rich has been involved in. Rich, was there any surprises in this memo that came out?
I mean, it was a surprise in that they're basically going to bail on the initial approach, which is as a result of having.
Is your speaker?
Yes, it is on. Thank you. But as a result of having not found enough underserved households in Tompkins County to make a last mile fiber initiative viable, they're sort of pulling back and looking at different scenarios at this point. So it was a bit of a shock to me that the number came in as low as it did. But I think I don't have the report in front of me, but I think they're saying there are maybe 260 or some thereabouts.
269.
Yeah, houses in Tompkins County that are considered underserved, which seems low, but it doesn't warrant the kind of investment that would have to be made to serve those households in the manner that was originally proposed. So it's wait and see at this point. So
does that mean the committee is done?
No, I haven't been told that the committee is done. I think there's going to be some kind of a, plan B, maybe discussion.
So we'll stay tuned.
Yeah.
Any report of town officials or other committees, or any other mention of correspondence from anyone?
I'll just mention that just decided today to cancel the COC meeting for Wednesday. We're having some issue with the quorum, and so we're trying to decide whether we're going to reschedule it for later in the month or whether we'll just wait until the September meeting. But that just remind folks, there's going to be a continuation of our discussion on telecommunications law changes.
Any other updates like that? Susan Brock, is that I don't think that's, I was expecting a Paris scene behind you. You disappointed me.
This is the Chicago Botanic Gardens.
Okay, well, that's nice too. Anything else tonight? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:26, and looks like it's still a pretty nice evening now.
Yeah, quick meeting.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Hey, Rod, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. I just came back on. I went off. So just making sure it works.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I thought that was